Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoyed these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. And keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as, investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. Alright folks, here we are on Tuesday, December 19th. We're going to take an updated look at T2. So T2 putting in a nice day today so far, over 22% to the upside. And I added some additional levels in here. I got rid of the previous downtrend resistance because both of them have been broken and there's a pretty good distance away from them now. If it were to revert back to either of them, not only would that be just a complete slaughter of the share price, but it would develop some different formations that would better serve us to just sort of keep an eye out for those. But, you know, it's sort of interesting. It's a little hard to see when we zoom out because these are pretty tight in. But you see how relatively flat this whole area looks of price action. But in reality, that encompasses things like minus 11%, plus 7%, plus 10%. So it's these like pretty big day-to-day moves, but because the history of that price action is so volatile, it looks relatively flat, but it's quite crazy. But it's putting in this nice sort of cup pattern. We'll see if, you know, it forms a cup and handle, or if it's putting in something like a W, like this, or where it wants to go. But the levels that I put in for the time being, the nearest in support level, if it does sort of pull back a little bit, 471, and then below that, 426, 396, and then 383. If it does continue to push, you know, there might be, I don't know if there'll be smooth sailing, but there's not a ton of price action to go off of between, say, 471 and 529. So we'll see if something sort of develops. It's a pretty big range for it to move through, but, you know, it's sort of done that today, moving through several levels. So could be the case that it still stays pretty thin and there aren't a ton of walls there, but time will tell. Above that, 540, and then, you know, I have these old levels here that I'm going to keep for the time being, 706, and then all the way up here at 886, basically. You know, if we get wild and crazy, there are several gaps that haven't been filled. You know, 1032 up to 1650, and then 23 up to 2662. Again, that's really far off, and I don't know what it would exactly take to get the price that high in any sort of like nearish term timing. So we'll just keep an eye on it. There's plenty of time to sort of sort through these things or figure them out. And if it falls below that 383 and folks are interested, I'd be happy to come in and put in some additional levels. But looks like, you know, based on the volume, based on the move today, the overall formation, at least if we zoom in to this tight, it's pretty interesting. So we'll see sort of what happens. There is maybe, again, if we zoom in here, a little bit of a downtrend resistance. You see if we take here to here, it would encapsulate all those and it would end around here. I'm not going to put it in because I feel like it's cluttered enough, but this is sort of like the stretch out of there. But it is a nice round pattern, sort of this double bubble, as I have called it previously. Now on the Think or Swim study, this is really interesting. So a couple of things. One, obviously the channel was huge and wide back here because of all the volatility. That's compressed significantly. So this compression obviously is what sort of makes room, gives the potential, right? You see this compression here, and this was much shorter lived. There may be better examples. But yeah, you see as the channel starts to compress and then big move, broadens the channel, compresses, big move, broadens the channel. And so now we are very compressed. So again, that's why I wanted to point out those candlesticks on the Webull chart that are actually, many of them, pretty big percentage gains and losses day to day, but still it's compressed the channel so much because of the previous volatility. So not only is it hugging the mid-range of the channel at the moment, right, it's staying pretty mid-range throughout this period, but the channel is super compressed compared to recent history, and it's started to trigger on the TTM squeeze indicator. And then today, so far at least, it's firing. So could this be the sort of the initial kickoff to a brand new super move? We'll see. if this takes us anywhere, but that has me really interested. This setup has me honestly more interested than the Weeble setup because, again, there's pretty thin action between here, so there's not a ton to go off of. And while I do like this motion, you know, the volatility is such that it's hard to trust what sort of like to your eye looks like good motion. But this, you know, with the channel compression, hugging the mid-range of the channel, trigger while it's doing both of those things, and then an initial fire candle, yeah, it could be pretty interesting. And you know, plus the bump in the volume is always a nice thing to see as well. So we'll see if this goes anywhere, but I'd be happy to come back and sort of try to keep tabs on it. If folks are interested, let me know in the comments. All right, I hope that your week is off to a good start, and as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.